I have to start today with a number. The number is 42,566, and that is the average concurrent Age of Empires player count across all of the games on Steam. And that means, right, that somehow Microsoft have not smothered this franchise just like they did to Halo. And what they've just done is even less typical. There's a new DLC that's inspired by a mod, greenlit partially because a YouTube video went viral that then saw them hire the damn modding team. This is the exact energy that this industry often denies us, but like with all journeys, there were certainly road bumps. Age of Empires 2 released in 1999, but it routinely hits player peaks of 24k in Steam today, and the reason why is simple hard work. To cut a long story short, Age of Empires 2 Definitive succeeded largely because it's the ideal remake. It has quality of life change, it has some mechanical tweaks that were done with care, art and animations that are stunning, and somehow managed to look both modern and classic. It's got that and a hell of a lot of content. Every expansion made up until then, plus the last cans, and it got continual support as well. There were feature updates, balance patches, now there's co-op campaigns, and all seemed well. Currently, the main game is at 94% in Steam, and that may make what I'm about to say surprising. May 2023's Rise of Rome is at 47% in Steam. October 23's Mountain Royals is at 63%, and March 2024's Victors and Vanquished is at 30%. It's mostly negative and it has loads of reviews. So the question is, what changed? How did that lead to today and what's going on? To understand any of that, we first need to see the rise of forgotten empires. And to channel their energy and rise up yourself, you gotta check out today's sponsor. We're going to teach you backend development with Python and Go, which are two awesome languages, and it's a strong job field with average salaries of 100 grand and lots of access to flexible working schedules. And they are boot.dev/Bellular News. And my link actually gets you 25% off your first purchase, and here's how they work for people like you and me. You see, quests, XP, levels, community raids, they are backend devs who play games, and they use the fact that they play games to teach us how to program. As an example, learning object-oriented programming in uni for me was fine, I like programming, but it was on generic businessy problems, which was boring. Learning it through emulating a simple RPG combat system, well, that's a lot more fun, and it leverages the abstract concepts that as gamers we already know to basically help teach us the new programming ones. And once you've got the basics down with their Python fundamentals module, you can move on to the guided projects, like this one, which is to build asteroids in Pygame. And of course, it's software you're building. Once you've actually built the basics, you can start cooking. You can try to tweak mechanics if you want. See if you can make it more fun and actually use it like a toy. And take it from me, after years of uni, actually playing around with the things that you've built and building projects, that is what makes your skills concrete. I mean, I did terrible in theory exams, but what got me a first degree was projects. It was really fun. So if you want to get started on an awesome pathway, hit up boot.dev/Bellular News. You'll get 25% off your first purchase, and you can get learning, and they post free demos on all of their courses and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Even though the results are completely different, there's a major Halo parallel here, and that is that 343 Industries was a company made to oversee the Halo franchise, one that, bar the Master Chief Collection, essentially failed. Age of Empires saw similar with a team called World's Edge. They were formed in 2019 to steward Age of Empires, and the story behind all of this is fascinating. You see, just over a decade ago, two groups were remastering Age of Empires 2 at the same time. Microsoft were doing it, and then a modding group called Forgotten Empires were doing it. And rather than the usual in gaming where the modders get shut down, Microsoft decided to collaborate. Forgotten Empires even made an expansion along with one of the Age of Empires 2 HD support teams. And of course now, Forgotten Empires is no longer a mod team. They are in fact their own studio. And together with Skybox, they created two expansions for HD Edition. And then after that, and under World's Edge's oversight, they led development of Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, along with two support teams, Wicked Witch and Tantalus Media. It was a humongous success that just oozed love from every pore. Again, even just looking at the building destruction animations, it's amazing. And thankfully, the string of successes didn't stop. They co-developed Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition, and they co-developed Age of Empires 4, along with Relic. Relic, the massive game studio working on the new entry in the franchise. Imagine being them and having a group like Forgotten Empires there to help you get it right. And then, with Age of Empires 2, the wins would roll on. We had Lords of the West, Dawn of the Dukes, and Dynasties of India. They were all well liked, 78, 84, and 80% on Steam, each costing $10. The good streak was there until one day the streak very much was broken. The joke is true. We men often do think about Rome a lot. This time, though, it's Return to Rome. This was the 25th anniversary expansion, and it wasn't like the others. It was going to add lots of Age of Empires 1 into Age of Empires 2. There would be new voiced campaigns, modernized mechanics for the AoE 1 stuff to better fit AoE 2, and then Rome as a full Age of Empires 2 civ. But it didn't land. $14.99 was more expensive. Not all people were even interested in AoE 1, and it launched with issues. Today, it is fun, like it's a good way to play those campaigns, but it's completely dead in multiplayer. And that means that even with more Age of Empires 1 campaigns added through 2023, its bad reputation stuck. What hurt them again was October's Mountain Royals. This fared better, but it kept the $15 price tag. Now, there are unique units, there are more mechanics, but it costed more, right? Value criticisms began to creep in, and that's something we've seen before with strategy games like Warhammer Total War. But what really did them in was March 2024's Victors and Vanquished. This did not go down well. It's mostly negative in Steam. It was $2 cheaper than the other two, but it's very different. It's single player only, but it's a totally different format. There are 19 scenarios, each is pretty long, they've got varied mechanics, and rather than the typical long campaign, they're just all different stories with different characters. And there are big characters like Oda Nobunaga, Ragnar Lothbrok, all of those people that you might know from histories and legends. But here's the thing. Only 5 of those scenarios are new. The others are actually remasters of community-made maps. Now, work was done to them, right? They are fully voiced, bugs are fixed, they're updated, but it's not what people expected, and leaning on 14 community map remasters to do your DLC absolutely rubbed people the wrong way. And with a streak of 3 back-to-back bad releases, that means that the Overseer's World's Edge risked reminding themselves, or perhaps reminding their players, of Creative Assembly and Paradox Interactive, which is not what they would want. And that is what makes the new plan all the more interesting. Here it is, the battle for Greece. It is wild. We've got modders and a YouTuber to thank for it. So, Chronicles Battle for Greece is a totally different format, and it's obviously the start of a new plan for this game. They pretty much say as much too. Now, I could just say that it's 3 civs and a bunch of missions, and that would be correct, but it would only be technically correct. That's because this is not made by the usual gang of Forgotten Empires plus a few support studios. Here's the story behind it. Rome at War is a fan-made total conversion for Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, and it is absolutely stunning. The units are reskinned to fit the new time period. It looks gorgeous. Things that don't fit, like gunpowder units, are replaced. There are new units. There's a mix of new and repurposed assets, mechanical changes. It's just an incredible piece of work. A YouTuber, Spirit of the Law, covered it, and his YouTube video got 274,000 views. The video popped off, the mod popped off, and as he tells us in a recent video, we've actually learned that the mod popularity and then his video helping to bring it to light, that actually helped kick off and greenlight this project. That's a strange as hell way for a game to be kicked off in our industry, but its development is also a little bit different. It's led by Capture Age. They're another team who work in Age of Empires, and they've also got a unconventional story. They actually started by making third-party spectator tools. Now, those tools got official approval, and with that, they then morphed into being an Age of Empires support team. They've even worked in Age of Empires 4 and Age of Mythology. Here, though, they are working with the Rome at War mod team, who are now a part of their studio. So that is far from typical, as is the DLC. It's a standalone one that is accessed via the sidebar in the main game menu, and its big feature is a 21-mission campaign that covers the conflict between the Persians and the Greeks over a 100-year time span, and seemingly with a campaign design that is not like any other stuff we've seen in Age of Empires. And just by the numbers, there are 55 new land unit models, 19 naval, 85 new buildings, and Athens, Sparta, and the Achaemenid Persians are our civs. They then went and overhauled the water-based gameplay, and it seems there will be choices that you make in the campaign that impact the rest of the campaign, and there are customizable commanders, and those commanders, well, they're big names of the era, like you'll probably get your Leonidas, your Themistocleses, and such. Spirit of the Law in his video was not able to share details, but apparently the cinematics they're doing are quite something as well. And what they've very much done in their PR is talk up the narrative big time, and they've they've also sold a vision that is so laser targeted to me personally that it feels almost like an attack. They say the pitch is a unified story spanning the ancient world, and for me, here's why it's cool. You've got the founding of Rome, you've got the transition from kingdom to republic that goes on in and around this era, you've got the conquest of Italy, the Punic Wars, the conquest of Greece, everything in North Africa, the Iberian Peninsula, Gaul, maybe even Roman Britain, and that's just looking at it through the Roman lens. There are so many incredible stories and characters that they could cover here, and if they're able to do this with some sort of more unified, higher production value, like good narrative campaign, then this could be the start of something that is pretty damn incredible. And the good news for the multiplayer people is they've also said that this is not the only type of DLC that we'll get. And so when I look at this, I think of basically, why can we not have nice things more often? Why can this not be the norm? What I've just walked you through is exactly what we did not see happen to StarCraft. StarCraft as an RTS is dead because it could never be a billion-dollar scale project. Now, yeah, there is a StarCraft shooter, but that's not what StarCraft is. StarCraft is RTS first. So what we see here is not some crazy uninterrupted string of wins. There have been losses, there have been pricing errors, but there have been far more wins than losses. And what's amazing is Forgotten Worlds has about 40 developers. Capture Age grew slowly to support Age of Empires as was needed. And when it was time for a big new game, sure, they got a big studio like Relic on board. And throughout all of this, they've had loads of other successes. Age of Empires 3 does not have a mammoth player base, but its definitive edition does have a fairly strong monthly average. Age of Empires 4, well, its September monthly average was 14,700. Not as much as AoE 2, but surprisingly high. The newly released Age of Mythology is currently dropping off, though my read on that is it's always been more of a single player draw, and right now on Steam, it's got 89%. What we have is loads of Age of Empires games, and they're almost all well regarded. If you add the last 30-day averages of the new, like, definitive edition projects and stuff together, you have an average player count of 42,566, which is goddamn remarkable, and that is all because they treated an IP that players love and respect with love and respect. Looking at Halo, looking at how it died under Microsoft, I think there's a simple answer here. Small teams, defined scope, and reasonable expectations. And of course here, modders. I mean, Age of Empires was never going to be gigantic, but now it is large, and free from the burden of Halo-like expectations, it's actually just been left to handle itself and keep itself healthy. And what's so sad is that what it's doing now is what the StarCraft 2 team tried to do to keep their game alive. You see, they did that through mission packs. The plan was that they do mission packs, that people will just keep on buying content. Nova Covert Ops was a series of 3 packs released across 1 year, and the missions were damn good. Each pack cost $7.49 USD, but the bundle of all 3 cost $14.99. That's basically the price of an Age of Empires 2 DLC. And sure, I get why it's a lot for some, but hey, it's StarCraft, higher production values, a bit more expensive, and by the way, it's paying for content. You see, that's the thing. Our expectations have become screwed up by live services, even ones that we pay $60 or $70 for. We are now used to games with hundreds of hours of loot grinding, but let's be real. Paying for content is good. If we want games, we should be happy to pay for them. It's now at the stage where if a game is free, I am less interested, because if something is free, it means that you are the product. It means that the game portion is only there to capture your interest so you may eventually buy skins, or for you to just be a body there to keep a game alive so somebody else buys skins. Between Warcraft 3 Reforged and StarCraft 2, Blizzard had numerous opportunities to do what World's Edge decided to, in getting mod teams involved. Right now, there is a Warcraft 2 remake project in Warcraft 3 Reforged. That is a damn strong piece of work. Age of Empires shows us that this sort of model can work, that you can treat a legacy IP right. You just need to set expectations, know what you're getting into, and try to be a little bit less typical, because a long tenured game is so deep with its community that you need to involve the community in moving it forward. We now could have had many StarCraft 2 mission packs. Just imagine the co-op commanders game modes they could have made. Maybe StarCraft 1 story remade in StarCraft 2, and the same would go for Warcraft 3 Reforged, let alone the initial vision of that game that was genuinely exciting. And what pisses me off is the kickback that I got in a recent video on Overwatch, I was criticizing the pricing of skins, how scummy it was, and people were saying, bro, why do you even care? You're just farming outrage. They're not forcing you to buy them. To which I say, if you're my age, you're foolish. If you're younger than me, well, I suppose you weren't there, so you just wouldn't understand. The thing is, back in the day, we paid money for content, right? We paid for our games, and adjusted for inflation, our games were more expensive than they are today, but we were far happier. You see now, attention, effort, marketing, it goes into those $100 skins that are designed for whales and all of that stupid stuff, while the core games are left the bare minimum they need to be to support those purchases. It is all about incentives. If you earn money by selling people skins, then skins will be the thing you optimize around. If you make money by selling people content, then content will be the thing that you optimize around. This stuff goddamn matters. To know more, watch this video next.